Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Eric Spencley, and today I'm going to show you how to install the Shelix Helical Cutterhead for the Dewalt 735 Planer on Spencley Design Co. Now before we start any of the disassembly, you have to unplug your machine. But now that that is done, we can start popping this thing open. Now on the top here, you'll find 4 T25 screws that you need to remove. And if you don't have a T25 bit, it does come with one here, so let's pop those out. And with the screws out, we can pop the whole assembly up. On the inside here, you're gonna find 3 different red knobs you just need to twist out. And then over on this side here, you'll see a small line with this close and open feature. So what you need to do is you need to lift this assembly up till it's at the open spot, and then this just simply pops right off. Now on the inside you can see that the blades are now revealed. So we need to remove all these T25 screws to get access to the blades. We can now take out the cover plate and then the blade itself. And once you get that first blade out, you might try rotating this and realizing that it's completely locked. So what you need to do is press down on this here, and now you can easily rotate the rest of the cutter head. While I remove all the other screws holding the stock blades in place, I just want to remind you that these blades are super sharp, so wearing gloves like I am might be a good idea.
Danger's my middle name.
So now we're going to remove this retainer clip using a Phillips head driver. Now these screws are a little tough to get out because there's Loctite on it, so just make sure that you're pressing hard so that you don't strip the head of the screw. And there is a small spring under here, so just be careful when you take this off that you don't lose the spring. So now that we have everything on the inside done, we're going to move over to the right side here and start by removing this handle. The handle is held on with another T25 bolt and easily pops off. On the same side, you'll find 4 more T25 bolts to remove, and a cover plate will easily pop off. To remove this chain, we need to remove 2 more T25 bolts. I'll then lift up this tension arm and slide the chain and sprockets out. And with a Phillips head bit, I can remove the tension arm and slide it off the spring. And now we can remove this band from the pulley. This is by far the most difficult part of the install. Just take your time here and avoid pinching those fingers. The next thing that we need to do is remove this nut right here. That is a size 23, but if you start to spin it here, you can see that the entire head moves. So what we need to do is jam some wood right about here so that this thing doesn't move while we spin it. With that nut off, I'll slide this large piece off too. And just be careful that you don't lose this little guy here. You can pop that out and set that to the side. Next, we'll take some needle nose pliers here and get that snap ring out. So now that we got the snap ring out with some pliers, we're going to slide over to the opposite side. I'll start off by removing these 3 T25 screws. Here, I need to remove 2 more snap rings, but these pliers ended up not working, so I had to go get a set of snap ring pliers. I'll leave a link to these down in the description below. They were insanely helpful. And with those 2 snap rings out, I can pop off the sprockets and chain. Next, we need to remove this, and this, and those are T30. And now this whole assembly will come out, but we'll just rotate it and leave it in there. Just like that. And now with the gearbox to the side, there's 1 more snap ring in here that we need to remove. So the next step here is we actually want to pound this piece through. So we're going to use a hammer to hit it, but to avoid damaging that, we're going to set a piece of wood in front of it and then hit it. Now I can carefully guide this entire cutter head out. So on the end of the factory cutter head, you'll have this helical gear. So we're going to use a 1/4 inch socket and we can remove that. So we're now ready to open up the box. And then on the inside here, there's the entire cutter head, a couple bonus inserts, a screwdriver, and some fancy salt. This helical gear that we just got off of the factory cutter head is going to go on the new one right on the end there. And I obviously tightened this down with that same 1/4" socket, but you get the point. Now, in order to get the new cutter head into the machine, I actually have to remove every single carbide bit. And yeah, this is a major pain and it takes forever. But you know what doesn't take forever? Supporting my channel by hitting the like button and subscribing if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Thanks. And now we can install this back in the machine. Now, just to make the install a little bit easier, it comes with this plastic, so I'm going to wrap it around the cutter head and then insert it. Once the cutter head is situated, I'll
just tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
Until the bearings are seated properly. On the left side, I'll reinsert the snap ring, reposition the gearbox, reinsert 3 T30 bolts, replace the sprockets and chain, put the 2 snap rings back in place, attach the spring back to the tension arm, and put the left side cover back on with 3 T25 bolts. On the right side, I put in this washer from the factory cutter head and inserted a snap ring. And don't forget about this little guy that goes here in the shaft where this cutout in the pulley wheel goes. Then I'll put the nut back on. Just remember to jam a piece of wood inside, again to keep the cutter head from spinning. Now, back to my favorite part of trying to get the belt on. Next, I'll reinsert the tension arm with a Phillips bit. Then put the sprockets and chain back on and tighten them down with 2 T25 bolts. I can then reattach the right side cover plate with 4 T25 bolts. And lastly, I'll finish up by putting the handle back on with the T25 bolt and we can move to the top of the machine. Now, if you remember when we had the stock cutter head in here, there was this piece that sat right about here that kept the stock cutter head from rotating. Now you can see that this will no longer fit, so on this install, we're just going to get rid of this. So now the best part of the install is we have to go through and reattach every single cutter head on here. While I reattach all the carbide inserts, I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patreon supporters. These are just some of the folks that are helping support my channel and make these unsponsored videos possible. If you'd like to support the channel and pick up tons of perks including stickers, t-shirts, and sweatshirts, check out my Patreon page linked down in the description below, and as always, please do not feel pressured. I gave the new cutter head a quick spin to make sure I didn't miss any of the inserts, and I can reinstall the dust shroud with these 3 red knobs. The very last thing that I need to do is place the top back on and secure it down with 4 T25 bolts. I finally got all the carbide inserts into the planer behind me, so let's run a board through and see how it works. Honestly, I thought I messed something up when I first turned the planer on because the first thing that I noticed was how quiet it was. The stock blades were so loud, I would actually have my earplugs in with earmuffs over top and it was still super loud. Now, one small issue that I did have that I didn't show on camera was that I actually had a tiny bit of streaking caused by the new helical cutter head. So that issue was caused by some of the carbide inserts being kind of off where they needed to be in their housing. So the super easy fix to that is to just open the planer back up and just make sure that all of the carbide inserts are seated perfectly. And once you do that, you shouldn't have any streaking at all on the boards. Now, if you want to stay up to date on all the videos that I have, make sure to subscribe to my channel down below, and I'll see you on the next one.